You can all hear me all right? Excellent, good. Thanks again for having me. Thanks to TEDx and RideauCanal for inviting me here. I guess because I live and work in this building, I also want to welcome all of you to Arts Court, the home of the Ottawa Art Gallery, as well as a lot of amazing other arts organizations here. We're in a moment of great transition here within the Ottawa arts community. This building will be a part of that change, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in tonight's speech. So I'm discussing art and social change and how that kind of affects spaces that house art, like art galleries. And so that's a huge topic. And it's really dominated my thinking for many, many years as director of the Ottawa Art Gallery. It's a topic that will continue to drive the kind of change that we want to bring to the gallery, including building a new municipal art gallery for the city. So some of you may have heard this. The Ottawa Art Gallery is building a purpose-built gallery right next to Arts Court on that vacant lot that is now a parking lot, I suppose. And we're very excited about this. This is going to happen in the next few years. You're going to see this whole downtown change in a very creative and wonderful way, and we're part of that change, and we're quite thrilled about it. We're going to rectify the fact that we are one of the smallest municipal art galleries in Canada. We occupy about 12,000 square feet on the main floor of Arts Court, and that's tiny compared to other art galleries, so we have some growing up to do. And this is really a coming-of-age story, I think, for the Ottawa art scene in a lot of ways. And so very exciting for us. And I'm going to take you through a bit of our thinking around that as well. We definitely see this as a perfect opportunity to challenge traditions and think of new ways to bring our community in and connect it to art in a really vibrant way. Tonight, I am here to poetically argue, I guess I would put it. Oh, I'm going backwards. There we go. For the importance of art in society in true TED Talk fashion. I'm going to explore this really large notion in grand strokes. It's a well-worn topic. Many people have covered this concept. You have the Richard Florida polemic talking about the importance of art and the creative class to make very vibrant creative cities, sustainable cities. There's many people who are talking about the importance of art in students and their scholastic achievements. There's really new innovations around art and mental health. A lot of people talk about art as a transferable skill, art as a great investment, art as a job creator. There's lots of great ways to approach art and social change and art's importance to society. But tonight I want to focus in on really art in and of itself, on its own terms. And forgive me, but I'm going to be one of those speakers who are actually going to stick to my notes so I don't go off on too many tangents, which I'm completely capable of doing. There we go. I seem to be constantly flicking this the wrong way. All right, so I'm very interested in talking about centering art within the argument of the importance to society, and really saying that art, and arguing for art being just as important to society as commerce, as religion, as philosophy, as science, because it creates a space in between where we can step outside of the everyday and encounter new understandings of our world. I argue that these understandings are just as powerful as medical breakthroughs or scientific discoveries, and in that space between that art creates for us, change can occur. Personal and societal change. It can be slow, imperceptible, perhaps, but also present and profound. Oh, here we go, I'm going to get it. So I was at a dinner party with this fellow, and this guy's name is Duncan DeCurgamo, and he's a senior artist here in Ottawa. And he made a very interesting statement that artists aren't activists, they just work. And it was a provocative statement. And of course, it was debated throughout the course of the evening as more wine was imbued and all that sort of thing. But it stayed with me, and I've reflected on it many, many times because I feel there's something fundamental about that in the art of art and the act of art making, if one can speak in fundamental terms these days. Art, like other professions, is a vocation. In speaking to many artists, they have indicated that it was a calling. Whether they came to art late in life or they had other jobs, art was always present. They were always drawn to it. They always had to make, had to create. And although the role of artists within various nations and societies continued to shape and shift from the shaman to the journeyman to the provocateur to various hybrid forms that we can't yet predict, art fulfills a fundamental need within our society. It shifts our perspective and makes us view the world and our place within it differently. Whether it's the sublime within the landscape painting of a group of 7 work, in this case a Lauren Harris piece, or contemporary, sorry, I'm popping my mic a little bit here, or contemporary Aboriginal artists that critique colonialism, as in the case of Bear Witness's work. Art resists a segmented, quantifiable understanding of place, history, and the body politic, and spreads its arms wide to embrace a deeper, rarefied, sometimes dark, sometimes divine body of knowledge. And in this new, ever-shifting way of knowing our world, art creates social change. In the case of Renaissance art, it allowed patrons to see the corporal in the divine and helped Western society shift its understanding of the individual and the public sphere, leading to the Enlightenment period. More recently, in the 70s and 80s, feminist and queer artists challenged the rights of women and gay and lesbian individuals and helped to shape new laws and legislations. Again, more recently still, we have seen the power of art to provoke outrage around various environmental crises around the world. There are also wonderful examples where the power of one image, in this case, Robert Indiana's love poster, that can speak to a generation, in this case, talking about the anti-war movement and the peace movement in the 60s, then to see that image get changed and shifted slightly by, in this case, Canadian art group General Idea, to give new meaning to something, in this case, the AIDS epidemic, a wonderful layered play on that original poster. So with that workmanlike statement made by Duncan de Kergamo, the artist that you saw before, and now you see his work in front of you, he had explored the grid and a limited color palette for years within his painting. But within that, he creates a space for the viewer to feel, to contemplate, and to commune with something that sits outside of our day-to-day reality. I believe fundamentally that this is a precious space that artists create for us, a space that needs to be nurtured and supported, because within it we can truly explore what large ticket items like peace, equality, nationhood might look like, not in a shallow or trite way, but in a deeply humanistic manner that reveals our pains and our failings as much as it celebrates our achievements and reveals our hopes and our dreams. As Max Weinman stated in his book, Why Culture Matters, The Defiant Imagination, a book that I come back to again and again, and Max was an art critic in Vancouver, he stated, art is a matter of speculation and imagination, hope and inspiration, bold experiment and noble failure. Art challenges us to reshuffle the composition of our world. It generates an imaginative energy that emboldens us to venture down new paths. Art invites us to adapt to adopted positions, even cross boundaries. That sometimes makes it disturbing, troublesome, uncomfortable. Art complicates matters. As soon as we know the code, the artist changes the cipher. It's like falling in love. The world turns upside down and nothing is as it was. All we can do is plunge in. And with that lofty, lyrical statement, I wanted to express how excited I am personally to play a role in the shaping of the new space for the Ottawa Art Gallery. This has led to an exploration of the actual physical spaces that art has resided throughout time. And so you'll see here one of the earliest versions where art occupied itself within the public sphere, Lascaux caves in France. Right to Michelangelo's work in Bernini's cathedral, art has physically occupied some pretty important spaces in society. Today, though, we look to the art gallery as the main conduit for the intersection between art and society. So looking at the history of how art galleries were formed becomes very interesting and a definite reflection of the society during different periods of time. In the case of the princely palaces of the Medicis in Florence, you see the first real public gallerias that were intended really to showcase the prince's power, his new-formed wealth. But it was also a space for contemplation. You see something very similar happening in France during the Revolution, where, again, the emperor's treasures were then changed and adapted to become a powerful educational tool for the new masses. The public art gallery throughout time has had many faces and served many, many purposes. And there's no denying that it has a strong connection to the elite and has a highly westernized concept of meaning and value. Many galleries during the modernist period, and we'll see if this, there we go. During the modernist period, attempted to erase the decorative that happened in the past or the referential and tried to create neutral spaces where the white cube on which meaning could be written or performed or painted upon became the most important element. And you see a lot of galleries like this in Canada because, of course, there was a huge gallery building moment that happened with Canada's first 100th birthday around the late 60s. You saw a lot of money infused into gallery building and public cultural spaces. And so this is an example with the Winnipeg Art Gallery. If you don't mind advancing to the next one. Now we're in that period where we have the dominance of the star architects, where the gallery itself becomes an object, an art object and a tourist draw. So in light of this history and a desire to value that space between that art creates for society, how does one go about planning for a new gallery? Do we pull upon past traditions, do star architecture, attempt to find new ways, new models, or all of the above? With all the shifting codes and ciphers that make up both the physical and conceptual spaces around an art gallery, we have to achieve, I think within the Ottawa Art Gallery, at least that's what we're really striving for, the building of a valuable civic legacy. That's very important to us. We want to make sure that it's a place for inclusive creativity for our community, and we want to continue to provide space for edgy, contemporary art of our time. So we have a lot of lofty goals that we have to achieve. If you don't mind doing the next one. For the Ottawa Art Gallery, we look to our collection as the first place to begin that discussion. We have a wonderful collection called the Firestone Collection of Canadian Art, made up of seminal works from, again, that modernist period in Canadians' art history. We also have some wonderful regional work within our collection. And this is what brought focus to the spaces and the places that we are designing for the new gallery. Interconnectivity became very important to us. We had to think of the ways that information was going to be flowing in our new gallery, and that it couldn't just be a linear transition of information, but we would have to look at very fluid means that we would deliver and receive information back from our audience and our participants. This also pertained to the way that we designed our spaces, how they flowed into one another. Spaces for convening, for reading, for chatting, for drinking, for community celebrations, for dancing, there we go. And of course, for making art, all became really, really important to us in the way that we were designing the new gallery. But for the overall concept or vision for the gallery, we looked home, in particular to one particular home, the Firestone family home, which used to occupy a space in Rockcliffe here in Ottawa. Here was a family who lived, ate, slept, celebrated, and aged, surrounded by the most seminal works of art in Canada by the Group of Seven, the Automatistes. A whole bunch of incredible art surrounded them all the time. This was a home that was designed for artwork, but also for the art of living. It was a space that privileged the art on the wall, but also the people who came in contact with it. The Firestone home was an example of warm, humanist modernism, designed for parties and for collecting art, and we felt that that was a really important combination that we wanted to bring into the building. And OJ and Isabel were famous for throwing great parties for visiting artists, or when they acquired a new piece of work. Mr. Firestone himself often opened his home and his collection to groups of students. So it was with this spirit of openness and inclusivity that inspired the look and feel of the new OAG. We were actually able to include some of the elements of the original Firestone home that you saw, that original staircase that I showed you in a couple of images ago. That's going to be brought into the new gallery space. But more importantly, we wanted to include the flair of the Firestone home, a space between where there is a concentrated effort on people and art-centeredness that can stand the test of time and be a true hub for the Ottawa art scene and a home for new generations of artists, students, and art aficionados. I would love to be able to show you an image of our new design. I was just this close to being able to do that, but we're not quite ready yet for release, for public release. But please stay tuned. In the next couple of months, we will be revealing the design for the new gallery. And I can say in the next 3 years, you will see a luminous, 4-story, 50,000 square foot gallery that will be connected to Arts Court and will contain unparalleled access to our collection, as well as new ways of connecting to the art of our times. And it will echo the Firestone's vision of a space that encourages communion between art and our lives. And I really do hope that you join us on that journey. Thank you very much.